Hi, I'm going to show you all how to grow some flax microgreens from flax seeds. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put some water in a container like this. And all I'm doing is putting the water in there. This is an old baby spinach container, so you can really use anything. I prefer to use something with the top because it helps the germination process. Next, what we're going to do, and the reason I put the water in first is because sometimes if you put the soil in first and then the water, you can get fungal, mold problems, stuff like that. So as long as you put the water in first, you're watering from underneath. And you can actually grow microgreens in a hydroponic style too, but I just prefer to do it with soil. And this is just a regular potting mix. You want to make sure it's pretty thin so that the roots can actually root and that you're not, there's not a lot of blockage to this for the roots to start growing. Now, you don't want to fill it to the top, but you do want to get it in there. This is just a spray bottle with just regular water in it, tap water. And what you're going to do with this is make sure it's open. And then you're going to make sure it's open so it's in a spray mode. Okay, maybe it doesn't do spray mode. And you're going to kind of wet the soil. Dang, I wish it would do spray. There we go. And you kind of get it in spray mode like that. Wet your soil pretty well. Then what you're going to do is take something that's kind of flat and you're just going to kind of press the soil so it's nice and flat and even. Like this.
So what are we going to plan to do with the microgreens?
Well, with microgreens, you can put them in a smoothie. You can cut them and put them in a salad. You can just eat them straight up. But the thing with microgreens is all the nutrients, the minerals, all the benefits from the greens are heightened because the plants are only growing this tall. So they're packed with nutrients versus growing the full-size plant. And the other cool thing about it is it only takes them about 2 to 4 days to germinate, and they are ready to cut and start to eat and use in about 8 to 10 days. So
that's cool.
You want to mash it so they're nice and flat. Make sure your soil is pretty moist because this will help with the germination process. You want to make sure your soil is pretty moist, and like I did by wetting it at first from the bottom, there will also be water coming up from the top. So make sure this is all straight, nice and even and flat. And I wanted to show you the actual potting mix. It's just regular Miracle-Gro potting mix. And people ask how do you just grow microgreens from regular seeds or do you need some special seeds or anything? But literally, I just got organic flax seeds from Whole Foods. And that's pretty much all you need. Some people soak them in water first, but I prefer to just plant them straight up. We'll see how it goes. But clearly, they come a lot in a pack, so I have time and room to mess up if that's what happens, but hopefully not. So next, what you want to do is you want to get a paper towel, and you're going to put the paper towel over this layer of soil like so. Then what you're going to do is take your spray bottle, wet the paper towel on top of the soil. And you want to make sure it's like a clean, kind of organic paper towel. So you're not introducing any chemicals into your microgreens because that would somewhat defeat your purpose. And you can buy organic, non-dye paper towels anywhere, so they don't have like designs and all that kind of stuff on them. Pink bears and clouds and balloons and all that stuff because the dye can be toxic actually. So you should try not to buy those even if you're not using them to grow. So you want to make sure that paper towel is nice and wet all over, even in the corners, because you want to make sure you utilize all the space to grow.
Right.
So that looks pretty wet. You want to make sure that that is pressed into the soil pretty well. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your flax seeds that I have here, and you're going to evenly sprinkle them all over. And this is the cool thing about microgreens. Usually if we were growing full like flax plants, you wouldn't do this right on top of each other. But with microgreens, because we're gonna only grow them for about 10 days, you can stand to kind of get them in there pretty evenly. You want to spread them out as much as possible. You can just use your finger and kind of spread them as much as you
Another
can.
question. So why do you have to put the microgreens on the paper towel?
Because the seeds of the microgreens will grow. See how there's that clumping right there? That's what you want to try and avoid. But when the microgreens grow, they will grow through this paper towel actually, and then you can just easily pick up the paper towel and have your microgreens versus having to cut, just because this dish is a little bit deeper.
Gotcha.
So you want to make sure they're spread pretty evenly, not clumped like I have them in certain spots, but they'll still grow. It'll be okay. Then once you do that, you want to spray them again just to get them all moist, and this will help with the germination process. And then what we are going to do is make sure that we have them in all the corners pretty well. Then what we're gonna do is get a little bit more soil and just kind of spread it over the seeds. Just a thin layer of soil. Just kind of mix it in. If not all the seeds are covered, that's fine too, because they will miraculously, oops, grow. I was trying not to do that, but. So what you want to do is just make sure they're as covered as possible, but very shallowly, like that. I like to get it off the side so you can see it as they grow through this. All right. So once you have it kind of even, you do want to press it again, and this is going to help with the germination process. And actually, I'm supposed to wet it again. Wet the top of your soil again. Make sure it's nice and wet. Then what you're going to do is take your flat surface or your spatula, whatever you're using, and you're going to flatten it again, just to make sure the seeds are touching the paper towel and the soil so they germinate properly. Germination is what makes the seeds kind of come alive and start to grow. And that is what we want. And then after you've completed this process, the beauty of using a recycled spinach container is you can just close the top, and then this is going to go inside the cabinet, because most seeds, when they're germinating, they like it dark. If you don't have a recyclable salad container or lettuce container or spinach, baby spinach container or whatever, you can also just cover it with cellophane. You can cover it with a damp dish towel or something damp on the top and just cover it, so that will help keep the moisture and help with the germination process, so the microgreens you're growing are as healthy and as nutrient rich as possible. So what you're going to do with this now is put it in the cabinet or put it in a dark spot, a top shelf of a closet, something like that. And in about 3 days, you'll notice little tiny sprouts start to push up through the soil. And they're going to be yellow at first just because they haven't had the proper opportunity to photosynthesize. But after about 3 to 4 days, let's say, you want to put these in direct sunlight. I actually have grow lights, so I can keep them in a closet or somewhere and just turn the lights on them. But you do want to keep them dark until you start to see stuff push through the soil. But pretty much that's how you start or sow microgreen seeds from flax seeds. So again, all I had to use was flax seeds from Whole Foods, and you can get these in the raw seed kind of section by the produce, where it's like the bulk section where you can buy it in bulk by the ounce or pound. I like to get this because I know it's a well-known brand. Regular potting mix soil, and make sure it's fine soil, and you can also use 70% dirt, 30% compost if you're outside and don't have access to this, if you want to stay low budget. And then you want to water the soil from the bottom to help not have mildew or mold, stuff like that, fungus. And then you're also going to want a water bottle so you can spray it from the top, so you don't push the seeds around trying to water it like with something like this. So it's really simple, easy to do. And I will check back in with you guys in about 3 to 4 to 5 days to let you see how these have germinated and are starting to sprout up. So thank you very much, Rooted Black Farms.